Yeah.
All right, it looks like we are finally starting, and as Julian mentioned, we always like to start on time. So thank you everyone for joining us again tonight. We are finally hitting that 7 p.m. SGT mark or 11 a.m. UTC, depending from where you are calling in from. And today we will be discussing something that everyone has been asking about: the IXS 2025 roadmap. So joining us here tonight is CEO and co-founder Julian Kwan, alongside co-founder Aaron Ong, as we discuss what is next for IXS and what is in store. So yeah, passing over the mic to you, Julian.
Cool. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Those that are actually here live, and for all of the many more people that listen later on when it suits them. We do have a massively diverse global audience, so um, here we are. Try to pick the best time. So it has been an eventful 2025. Where do we start? So, I mean, let me start with just some macro thoughts. I think that you are obviously experiencing some extreme volatility in the markets. I think every single person who owns anything can feel it. Stocks taking a massive beat down, crypto taking a massive beat down. Um, yeah, it's been pretty ugly. Again, I think from what I'm reading, I do post a bit of stuff in the team community, the chats that I read. A lot of that comes from Global Macro Investor because I think Raoul Pali's team run a really tight ship and very data driven and cyclical driven, and have some of the best metrics that they reference from past cycles to try to guide the thinking and how it goes forward. I mean, we got into the space. We started building in this space in 2018, basically. 2017, we're trying to work out what was going on. ICOs, STOs, RWAs, etc. NFTs, I don't think were really a thing. I don't think DAOs are a thing. So for us, we've sort of done. This is probably, I guess the third cycle, if you will, but it's the fourth or fifth cycle for probably the fourth cycle for crypto. I think when they think about it, the bigger ones, and everything's going to plan per se. I'm looking at the relative the Bitcoin stock to flow relative strength index that looks exactly to the charts, and looking at a couple of other things, the RSI and Bitcoin. It's slightly different, but it looks and feels the same as kind of every other cycle. So I think that I kind of agree with Ra that it's like everyone needs to be kind of chill and take patience. It's very it's if you're not day trading, you don't need to listen to the insane swings of noise on X, which goes on whenever there's a bull market. Everyone's screaming about how everything's going to be great, and whenever it's a bear market, everyone's jumping off buildings and saying this is the end. There's not going to be another cycle, and all of that gets proven wrong every single time. But it just happens all the time again. Thing again. So I guess my thinking personally is we are in a great space. Obviously, we all want to see a much higher valuation around the business, the tokens, and all that. But again, from the bigger picture, metrics, if you will, that make us very bullish, and I'll reference the roadmap just this 1 second. Is like, you know, up until again this year, the entire US market was closed for business until we've had this new administration that's wants to dominate. There's a great Michael Saylor post that I'll put into the chat after, where he talks about just recently, I think it's like 1 day old, talks about the US Bitcoin strategic reserve, what it means to America, the world. But just on that point, it's like we've gone from a complete 180 of choke point 2.0, like let's not let crypto companies, blockchain companies even have a bank account, to the president of the US saying we're going to be the global epicenter of Bitcoin, crypto, blockchain, RWA, you name it, we're in charge. So it's just such a monumental shift that I don't, and clearly the price action. I'll just talk about Bitcoin. I'm never going to talk about price action of IXS, but the price action of Bitcoin is kind of gone the opposite way that a lot of people are expecting it to be. You have the president announce the Bitcoin strategic reserve of the United States, like 2 cycles ago, if they said that, the price would have gone up like 100x, right? And now it goes down. Again, because crypto's tied to the greater macro, and there's been a massive sell-off with this trade tariff war narrative and everyone yelling and screaming and panic in the markets, etc. But again, what we see from the actual details, I don't have one to read off here, but someone posted the other day. There was like everything from we're going to we've appointed all of these people in power to um, who are pro blockchain. This is like pro blockchain, which is everything. There was a vote this week that there was a situation where the government of the US was at one point saying that smart contracts are going to have to run through a broker dealer, even for DeFi. That just got voted out. And then again, there's a list of like 100 of these things. I think last week, all of the lawsuits against Coinbase and Robinhood and anyone related to blockchain were dropped. And again, it goes on and on and on. So if you think about the bigger picture macro, it's actually never the fundamentals of that side of price have never been stronger. And that's why it's an interesting time to see this because crypto Twitter's having a meltdown. But then if you look at the data and the research and the news, and you look through the news and you speak to people in Washington and you speak to high-powered business people in the US, it's crazy what's going on in a positive light. It's so crazy, sometimes hard to believe it's happening. And then again, but price is going the other direction, which I think makes a turnaround. But so moving on, so what does that all mean? Like America's come to the table, and America's got, in my mind, 1,000 to 10,000 times the capital. The rest of the world combined, brain power has a lot of brain power. I don't necessarily think it's the same in terms of how much more, but the capital is needed. If Bitcoin was at 8 cents now, 14 years later, we wouldn't be on this podcast, and there'd be no such thing as the cryptocurrency industry. If price doesn't move and eventually move up, then you don't have any interest in any assets. And so, what we're seeing now, I think, is our own moves to America. I mean, the tokenized assets, real world assets that are gaining the most traction, that have the most product market fit, that have the most use case. It's stable coins, and now it's becoming treasuries, and then it's money market funds, and it's basically Wall Street assets. And that's why we've done this real sharpened our focus this year to really hone in on that and focus on the highest quality from an asset perspective, which again, I will call today Wall Street assets, because there are treasuries in many countries, but let's go back to focusing on America. The stablecoin market now is like nearly 100% US dollar stable coins, which makes it hard for other types of real world assets that are not priced in US dollars to get like some traction because, how do you buy them? If you're going to do a tokenized, you know, Chinese renminbi treasury and there's no tokenized renminbi, then you can't really buy it. You've got fiat trying to buy tokens, and that was how and that's an issue, right? For scalability and all that kind of stuff. But the point is, there are other people around the world working on their own stable coins in different jurisdictions and countries. But right now, it's all about America. So we're really pro that narrative heading to New York. It's 60-70% of our web traffic is American, US, and it has been for over a year. And we've never tried to do anything there because up until 2025, building in America, you got your head cut off. And actually, it was driving entrepreneurs and businesses outside America. And that's been the problem for the last 4 years. So we've got this huge turnaround. We're super bullish on the US from a capital perspective, from an asset perspective, and also because our partners, and we've secured the strongest distribution partners in the entire planet that are real, from regulated digital asset platforms and cryptocurrency exchanges to the biggest fintech platforms in Asia, which will continue to be our focus to grow more B2B partners like that. But the point that I'm making on this topic was those partners with the hundreds of millions of users, the demand from their audience, their user base, is the US tokenized assets because they're the highest quality and because they're balanced, they're portfolio balancer to meme coins and other crypto, right? So the world will become entirely platform driven, which we've been moving to for 10 years already, 20 years already, and it'll become completely token driven from your stable coins to your bitcoins to your tokenized treasury to your tokenized startup, right, and everything else around that. And that was always our vision for this platforms 6 years ago when we started. We were the first people in Asia talking about this, and it was like we want to build in the nexus right in the middle of TradFi and DeFi that we can serve both sides, because essentially tokenized RWA are TradFi assets, like it's traditional finance, a treasury, treasury, a money market fund, a private credit, private debt, real estate. They're traditional finance, right? But in a token format, they become RWA. So that is a big part of it. A big part of our plans. For the US, we've got a lot of interesting discussions, partnerships, investment, etc. All of that will remain tight-lipped. We won't be announcing anything moving forward um, until after we've already kind of launched it. So that's going to be kind of also part of our mantra moving forward. There's obviously a lot of people copying everything we do, cut and pasting everything we do, and then just using that to promote. So we need to also try to hold on to that value as long as possible, and then use it at the last, once it comes out. So anyway, US massive. We're also applied for a funds management license. So we have broker dealers, we've got exchange licenses, securities, we've got crypto, we've got custody, we get every license. We don't have every single license. We have a lot of licenses. Now we're going to add the funds management. That's basically to allow retail investors to access institutional deals. So most institutional quality RWA are only available for accredited institutions. One example, BlackRock's Biddles a $5 million minimum investment. So obviously, a lot of people don't have $5 million for one investment. So we put a vehicle together that allows people to buy much smaller amounts, but the vehicle itself is investing as an institutional accredited investor because it's big enough, and that solves everyone's problems. The users get to buy it no matter how big they are. It's all legitimate and legal. There's one company buying into the institutional real asset token. Everything's legit on chain. Everyone gets what they're meant to deserve. And then we tee the whole thing up and we deliver this promise of, institutional RWA to millions of people out in Asia through this continued focus just on this B2B model. So so that is some of the key updates. We successfully completed the MEXC listing. We successfully integrated with the Line app. That was a world first. A lot of heavy lifting, non-stop around the work, around the clock work for the team. So they did really, really well. Um, and then we signed the union chain, joint venture partnership, which is really a fundamental, like a monumental project that, from getting any crypto exchanges to work with each other in a joint venture never happened before. Getting four of them to do it never happened before, and then getting two real world asset license platform to join that joint venture and then build this out together. It's just never ever even come close to happening. It's like 2 years of negotiations just to get to that point. So I think some community members don't understand the gravity of how big that is and how much work's involved, and then now all these integrations that have to go through teams of lawyers and compliance people and all this just to get it done right, and then it flows. All right. And as CZ said, I think last week I saw him say something like, you know, it's too much money chasing these silly projects and saying all these kinds of stuff. Like the real money's made backing real projects, ethical teams. I think he said building long-term value and future. That's the way to play it. That's our play. It's always been our play. We move faster than anyone, but the things we do are massive and they take a lot of time. But they're the best plays and the strongest plays that we can see in the market, and we're super bullish to keep driving that forward. Um, so I've been talking enough. I'll pass it to Aaron and Jane. Thank you, Jane.
All right, thanks for that, Julian. I'll get started here from the marketing side. So, hey guys, I think yeah, as Julian mentioned, you may have noticed at the start of the year, we changed the new logo for IXS. We changed our positioning, and why is that? It's because in the market we've seen that there's been a change in institutional appetite for tokenized RWAs, and alongside with that, it is something that we've been trying to realign with, and that's something that we're cementing. With Union Chain, with IXS co-founding Union Chain, RWA tokenization layer two for sex integrations, the line app integration. What does this mean is that we're seeing an increased appetite from institutional partners, and that appetite can only be satiated by IXS. So from the marketing side, we did do the logo change and repositioned our positioning, but more in terms of what's coming down the roadmap and the pipeline. In order to kind of cater to this appetite, we're also will be announcing a new website launch. So this is just to realign everything that IXS has been doing in the background and in the pipeline, and this is something that everyone has been looking forward to, and the marketing team as well. So this is something that we've been cooking up for a while, and it's something that's coming out very soon, and we're super excited to share that with you guys. But alongside with that, as well as ramping up our marketing to really realign with the institutional positioning that we have now, I think it's never been clear, as Julian said from the macro side, that the institutional appetite for RWAs is increasing, and IXS is the answer. And marketing's answer to that is let's realign with what we have now and reshift our focus into what we've already started. So on the marketing side, we're super excited to share that new website overhaul with you guys. We're also making upgrades to our marketing efforts. We're also switching up a lot of our upgrading our channels and our communications, and that's something that we're really excited to share with you guys. I can't share much with you yet, but look forward to that when we do announce that, and we will keep you posted. But yeah, that's mostly it from the marketing side, and I'll pass it over to Aaron.
Hey guys, yeah, just give a update on the roadmap for the business and product and tech as well. On the business side, what we're doing right now is we're still pushing through the existing launchpad deals that we were in negotiation with before this realignment of the strategy on the institutional side. So as you're seeing, HWA Energy was launched this week, and we have a couple more coming down the pipeline over the next couple of weeks as well. But more importantly, we are looking to bring on 2 additional institutional type funds onto IXS within the first half of the year. One will be a money market fund, which is basically treasuries, T-bills, and things like that, which will provide a small steady return for investors that just want to park their USD, which will diversify away from the crypto assets. And then this is based on demand that the exchanges are looking for as well, because a lot of the assets that they have on chain are high risk crypto assets, high volatility, and they want some sort of diversification within their portfolios. And then the second fund we're looking to onboard as well is going to be a credit fund. This is going to be out of the US as well. We are currently going through the DD, and we're looking to onboard them by the end of the first half this year. That fund already has over $1 billion in AUM, so that's on the liquidity side will be large enough for our institutional partners as well. And then on the product side, we will be launching the DEX V2 within the first half of the year. And what does that mean? On the tech development side of things for the DEX V2, we're going to be introducing advanced liquidity pools and improved swap functionalities. So this is where we are not forking the DEX from any other existing exchanges right now. We are building this almost completely from scratch. You will see features that are shown on some of the other DEXs right now, but it won't be a fork. It will be something custom made by us. But we're just taking the best features that we think is best suited for the RWA markets and building it into our own DEX V2, and just based on our experiences with the DEX V1 as well. And then beyond that, we are also doing some infrastructure enhancements on the platform. I think we've talked about this in the previous AMAs. We're doing smart contract enhancements throughout almost every single product that we have in the platform right now. All of these smart contract enhancements are all going through smart contract audits as we speak. So a lot of these enhancements will be rolling out over the next couple of months as well. The Launchpad is also going through an upgrade right now. We are upgrading the smart contract to increase the security and also to provide additional features for the issuers to use on the platform as well, for differentiated pricing and different sort of stages with different pricing as well, just to accommodate to the different types of sales that some of the issuers have been asking us for as well. Yeah, and then we are also looking to, we will close out one of the SEX partners this first half of the year, and we're looking to complete one of the integrations by then. And this is actually linked to the Union Chain developments that we've been working on. So we're looking to integrate one SEX by the end of the first half of the year, and another 2 centralized exchanges by the second half of the year. And just so that everyone's aware as well, the Unichain partnership and this whole increased institutional focus on distribution channels is not going to be limited to the 4 centralized exchanges that are in that existing JV and partnership. We are speaking to quite a few other centralized exchanges across the world right now that are keen to join this program as well. But we'll share a little bit more about that once we have the contract signed off and we'll start development on those chains. Yeah, and going on to, I guess, second half of the year as well, in terms of the assets, we are looking to onboard 3 institutional funds on the platform, which we are already in conversations with. First one will be the carbon credit fund. I think we've spoken about this before. The corporate bond fund we're looking at as well, which is basically going to be a basket of corporate bonds on an index on the US markets. And we're also looking at onboarding a real estate fund to the platform as well. And alongside this, I think we've also chatted about Clearpool integrations earlier this year. We are bringing that to fruition in the second half of the year. We'll likely use one of the institutional assets that we are working on right now, either the money market fund or the credit fund that will be going into that integration with them as well, so that users that invest into these deals can actually collateralize them and take a loan against them as well, increasing liquidity in the whole RWA space, at least for our assets to start off with. So I think those are most of the items in the roadmap that we have for the rest of the year. It's quite extensive. We are working on a lot of things at the same time. And as Julian mentioned, a lot of these institutional partners, it does take time for these deals to come to fruition. It generally normally takes at least 6 months for any of these things to come through. But yeah, that's about it from the business and product side.
All right, thanks for that, guys. I mean, there was a lot that to digest here. We talked about a lot of developments, which is barely scratching the surface of what we're doing in the back end. So, for everyone that's listening in, anyone that wants to tune in later, don't worry. We will be creating a recap of this roadmap discussions, and we will be officially announcing the roadmap sometime tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. I guess before we formally end the 2025 roadmap discussions, Julian, Aaron, is there any parting words that you want to give the community before we officially end this AMA?
Do you want to go first, Aaron?
Yeah, maybe just want to reinforce your point about, I guess, the crypto markets might look bad right now for price action and whatnot. But on the business side, the inbound inquiries, the amount of the positive reception from a lot of these TradFi institutional groups has never been better. We've never been in a situation like this in the RWA space for us to even execute any of these type of deals over the last couple of years, and this sort of only came to our radar, I guess, this year because of the US expansion into tokenization now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to everything that we're doing now.
Yeah, I think again, I mean, a lot of stuff in crypto obviously doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but there's a massive disconnect right now. There's 2 massive disconnects. One major disconnect is there's never been kind of an institutional stampede into the space like now. And so we've never had that before. Right? At the same time, you've got this entire meltdown going on crypto Twitter and the retail side. So that's a interesting situation. But again, like, governments, US and beyond, creating Bitcoin reserves. I think the ETFs and Sailor, don't quote me on numbers, but I think they're like 4% of Bitcoin already. So that's like a couple million tied up, and then it doesn't take much longer to tie up a couple million. I think people forget that 21 million Bitcoin is a fixed supply. Millions and millions have been lost. There's not really 21. There's not 21 available, and no one really knows the number. But people were throwing these things around like water when they were 10 cents, because that's why that guy bought the pizza that's worth $300 million or whatever. He used Bitcoin at the time and it was worth $10. So when you had hundreds of thousands of things that weren't worth a couple of dollars, you didn't really look after them. So there's not even close to that amount. There's now actually listening to Nick Carter from Castle Island VC. They've got a great podcast called On the Brink each week. You guys should check it out. Listen to that one each week. And in long story short, they were debating the Bitcoin strategic reserve play from America and saying, well, America doesn't really need to necessarily do it at a government level because you've got all the ETFs sucking up the Bitcoin, you've got Sailor, and then you'll start to see all many listed companies allocate a portion of their treasury to BTC, which again, listed companies. And then you'll see other governments around the world and other listed companies on other exchanges around the world doing the same. I think a Japanese company just created the first um, BTC reserve for a listed Japanese company. And the waterfall effect from governments to institutional investors to ETFs to treasuries is fully in play. And that's obviously, really solid growth kind of mechanics for kind of the industry. So look, ultimately, I think that's this time around, and people are just going to have to hold on to their seats and not focus on short-term price. Again, I think especially if people are buying, mid long term, like why does the daily price matter? Obviously everyone wants to go up, but that's not realistic, especially for you want the upside of an assets like this. You got to take the downside, the volatility, as they say, is a feature of the asset to get you the upside of multiple times. You also get smashed by 50% some days. That's how it works, regardless of which asset. So that's something I think everyone should keep in mind. It'll just make you sleep a bit better and keep focused on the bigger picture. And then the other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that it's interesting for me to see, no one's more incentivized than the founding team to drive IXS value forward. Like nobody. And you can yell and scream at us all you want on Twitter and Telegram. Like if you're upset, we're 100 times more upset, right? So that's just a fact because we've been working here for 4 years building it. But and this we started this whole thing. But the other massive disconnect is just the fact that a lot of crypto, the degen, the market it values completely assetless protocols with massive um, locked up, massive token supplies with massive percentages that are still unlocked. So that's going to get flooded to the market at like billions of dollars above like where we sit, and it's hilarious. It's not it's not hilarious as in funny. It's simply just doesn't calculate and stack up mathematically. That has to change. It has to change. Fundamentals will come back to a portion of the market. And again, like, if it's all about TVL and all that, um, through the course of this year, we'll definitely be pushing ours much higher. And that hopefully will translate into sort of this disconnect that we see with the value of our project versus others in the market that have just said we're whatever, layer one, layer two, we're going to be amazing. And that's all they've got really. So I think stay tuned. We just keep our heads down. Hard at work, real things going on. These are big things. They take a lot of time, and we really appreciate all the support from the community. Constant. Some of the people who've been with us forever. Some of the new people. And it always helps if you can spread the word out there. We don't ever want to say anything kind of negative about other projects, although there are a lot of projects out there just talking complete rubbish, but we just want to be positive about what we can do as our product for the market, for the industry, and then promote that positively out in the marketplace. And then eventually, everyone will wake up to what we're doing. That's it from me. Thanks, Gene.
All right. I guess that it is it for today. And as usual, we will be posting the roadmap officially tomorrow. So stay tuned. We'll also have a recap for this. So if anyone that hasn't joined it, if you have friends that you want to share this to, please wait for that and we will post that as well. And thank you again for joining us today. And I guess that is it for our AMA today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Gene, for putting it on.
Thanks, everyone.